without sympathy. This is the only way to live and die a true soldier.
Hi, it's been a while. I would have made this video a while ago, but I was waiting on these updates, and during that time I was reaching max level being 155 in multiplayer, which hopefully adds a bit of weight to my words. I know that I haven't played a Call of Duty game in 5 years, but I've definitely put some time into this one, so let's kind of get into this review finally. Now, I will be splitting this up into 3 sections because that's what the game does. You can see time codes on screen now if you want to skip past one of the sections and probably go straight to the multiplayer section. But first, let's start off in campaign, which, don't worry, I'm not going to spoil anything here. Basically, the simplest way that I can put this is that this is a pretty decent campaign, but it's not the campaign that we wanted. Everybody was kind of wanting this Modern Warfare 2-esque greatest hits with all of our favorite characters from the original trilogy, and you honestly do not get that here. Although, if you've watched any other videos on the campaign, you've probably gotten that message already. Something that I'm surprised about is just how few people are talking about the length of the campaign. I played it on normal difficulty and finished it in just under 4.5 hours, which is astonishingly low for even other Call of Duty games, which have pretty regularly had 8-hour campaigns, and here it's only 4.5 hours long. And the only reason why it would be longer is if you're artificially making it more difficult, where you'll die more often, therefore making the campaign longer. On top of that, my thoughts on the campaign are just completely destroyed by the ending. Without spoiling anything, the ending is just pure sequel bait, and it really felt unearned and actually made me angry at it for a little bit, because it's just setting up the game that we actually wanted, and the setup here with this campaign felt completely meaningless. I've seen a lot of people look at the ending of this game and just get really hyped for what they're going to show in the next Modern Warfare, being Modern Warfare 2. They really need to fix these names, but people are just getting really hyped about the next one, and I'm just over here scratching my head thinking, why did we just experience the last 4 hours? And also, why didn't they just give us the game that we actually wanted if they're going to eventually anyways? Maybe we'll get some more answers as the seasons roll out, but I'm not really expecting much. And I would go in depth a bit more, but like I said, I don't want to spoil anything. Now let's go into the co-op section, being Spec Ops. I don't really need to go in depth here. Basically, the entirety of Spec Ops is somewhere between unplayable and garbage, leaning more towards the garbage side. This is fixable though. Basically, the problem that plagues the entirety of Spec Ops is that the missions are too difficult. Just flat out, they're too difficult. There is multiple times where you will run into juggernauts that take plenty of explosives or upwards of 300 bullets to take down. Oh, and by the way, they only require about 2 or 3 bullets to hit you to take you down. Now, you can be rezzed by a teammate, but pretty much every time one person goes down, it feels like it's a domino effect of the next person going down, and then the next, and then the next. Normally, that wouldn't be that much of a problem if there was some decent checkpoints, but here you're only getting 1 or 2 checkpoints for a whole mission that can take upwards of 20 to 30 minutes to complete. I have not completed a single co-op mission yet. And at this point, I don't really feel the need to go back to it. I would like to unlock the characters associated with co-op, but I just don't really feel like putting in the effort just for that, just to slog through all those enemies, all that difficulty, just for some basic characters. And that's pretty much all I have to say about Spec Ops. I'm not even upset anymore that Survival is a 1-year PS4 exclusive, because honestly, I don't give a crap about any of the Spec Ops anymore after seeing how terrible it is right now. So let's move on to the part that everybody actually came here for, the multiplayer section of the review. Since the game's been out for a while, I'm not really going to go into detail about every single part of multiplayer. I'm just going to talk about the highlights and kind of the really bad sections. Thankfully, there's more good sections than there are bad, but there is some of both I need to talk about. And I'll start out by talking about the worst thing that is currently bogging down the experience of multiplayer in Modern Warfare, and that's the maps, which means that this isn't a problem that they can easily fix. The maps are there, they're not going away. They can only make more good maps in the future. But there are just a few here that are absolutely horrible, such as Anaya Palace, which I don't know what they were even thinking. This is worse than Call of Duty Ghosts levels of just insane map design. It is horrible. The game has no flow when you are playing on Anaya Palace. Honestly, if I was going to recommend anything to fix Anaya Palace, I don't think that throwing more players on the map is going to fix it. I think they need to cut the map size down drastically. Or in a worst case scenario, for the first time ever in my history of playing Call of Duty, I think that Anaya Palace is so bad of a map that I would be completely okay if they just took it out of the game. That is how much worse it is than even all those crazy Call of Duty Ghost maps. Anaya Palace is just so horrible. I purposefully back out of games when I see that we are about to play Anaya Palace. That's how horrible this map is. That map is so bad that it actually makes the other really bad map in the game, Euphrates Bridge, look nowhere near as bad. The big problem on Euphrates Bridge is that pretty much every single game turns into a sniping spawn camp, where whoever controls the bridge first usually just spawn camps the other team with snipers, and there's not really much that you can do about it, because people aren't going into the enemy spawns. It's literally people are spawning, running right outside of the building that they're in, and getting sniped off. Thankfully, though, it seems like Infinity Ward is getting the message, and the map that they recently released, Shoot House, is potentially the best map in the entire game, although it is the map that sticks closest to that sort of traditional 3-lane approach. And that's actually kind of funny. Leading up to this game, they talked so much about how they were getting away from the 3-lane design, but in the end, it's really only 2 maps, being Anaya Palace and Piccadilly, that are not a 3-lane design. Every other map has that traditional old 3-lane design, but with a few extra ways to get between the different lanes. Obviously, though, that doesn't include ground war maps, which, speaking of those, I think that there's one really good one, being the newest one, Krovnik Farmland, where you can actually feel the front lines kind of shift and sway as you're playing through the match, and it's really probably the best experience and the closest to Battlefield that you'll get in this game. Then there's the Tovorsk district, which is the big city where you're kind of having a bunch of smaller battles around the city to kind of get control. And then there's the one that we played in the beta, being Karsk River Quarry, which is really kind of not so fun to play compared to the other ones. The entire map of Karsk River Quarry is basically just trying to find those weird sight lines to get some peak advantage on your opponent, and it's not really a whole bunch of going out and trying to outgun your opponent. It's just getting those crazy sight lines. Overall, I'd give the maps here a meh out of 10, but something that I won't give a meh to is the weapons in the game and the gun crafting that you can do. When I first saw the selection of weapons that we have here, I was actually kind of disappointed. I saw the M4, the Kilo 141, and the M13, and I thought, oh hey, it's just a bunch of M4 copies. And then I saw other things like the AUG being a submachine gun instead of an assault rifle, and things like the Kar 98K being a marksman rifle instead of a sniper rifle, and the Dragunov being a sniper rifle instead of a marksman rifle. And honestly, I was kind of disappointed, but after going through and playing the gunsmith and changing these weapons around, it actually is really a lot of different customization that you can do, and it feels like you're making multiple different weapons. To give a great example, the AK-47 in the game can be turned from the AK-47 to the AK-74 to the AKS to the RPK to different versions of those in between, and it was really nice that you could turn this one weapon into so many different weapons. Although most of the weapons in the game don't have that level of customization, but most of the assault rifles and some of the submachine guns do have quite extensive modifications that you can put on them. There's not really much bad that I can say about the weapons, but there is one whole section around the weapons that really needs a bunch of changing, and that is weapon balancing. You may have heard how the M4 and the 725 shotgun were just so powerful and above everything else in the game. And while they did fix the 725, the M4 is still just used way too much. And it's no longer because it's the best gun, because it gets beat out in basically every category by something else. If you're wanting range, you'll go with the Kilo 141. If you're wanting damage, you'd go with the AK-47. If you're wanting something up close, you'd just go with the submachine gun. But the M4 altogether is just way too consistent for the game, and I think that they need to lower that down a bit more. Besides that, the FAMAS and the shotguns, excluding the 725, all need a damage buff. They're currently really underrepresented, and a damage buff could see them used more. And then you also have weirder things such as the Joker, which you may remember as the Javelin from previous CODs. This time around, it takes over 20 seconds for the projectile from the time that you fire it till it hits its target, and the speed of its projectile needs to be doubled, if not made even faster, to make it anything close to a viable weapon. And I think that that is pretty much all of the current problems plaguing the weapons in Modern Warfare. I feel like I need to give a special shout out to all the reloads in the game. They are different depending on whether or not you have sleight of hand or not, and personally I think that these might be the best reloads that I've seen in a video game ever. The animations as a whole in this game are just top notch, but the reloads just take it to the next level. This video is getting kind of long, so I'll end off with a look to the future. I will be making a separate video when we get the first season and we actually see what the monetization is going to look like. But so far, after getting through all 100 officer ranks, I think that the amount of time that it takes is okay. I could see it being extended a little bit, but personally, I think that for the battle pass system, the easier it is to get to that max rank of 100, I think that the more that people are inclined to actually pay for the premium pass. My reasoning behind this being that if you're only level 30 by the time that the season is almost over, then you're not really going to pay for a premium pass just to get a few extra items. But if you're level 100 by the time that a season ends, then you're more inclined to pay the money for the premium pass, because at that point you're just leaving a whole ton of things just on the floor that you could get. In total, to get from rank 1 to 156, it took me just under 63 hours, and I think that about 30 to 40 of those hours were only in the officer rank, so I think that that's a pretty decent amount of time. I could definitely see them bringing that up to about 50 hours, but that could actually be a bit less because we didn't have things such as trials to really help out the leveling up process, or at least I didn't, because I reached level 156 before they reintroduced the trials, which give you extra experience based on how well you do in each of them. And it just felt like there was a ton of ways to earn XP this time around. So I don't know if they'll be switching out some of the XP rewards for other rewards such as stickers or blueprints or characters or whatever the heck they're going to have. Personally, I'm just glad that they don't have loot boxes this time around. And so help me, if we ever do see a loot box of any kind in this game, there will be a big disclaimer in the top of the description urging you not to buy this game. This is one of the times where I'm actually going to somewhat believe them. They're going all in on this battle pass system. They're probably going to have a shop too, because what game with a battle pass doesn't also have a shop? But if this game has a single loot box, I will completely give up on it forever and the entire rest of the Call of Duty franchise. I actually left Call of Duty 5 years ago because of the loot boxes, and specifically because of putting weapons specifically that you could only get from loot boxes. And we saw the absolute worst of it last year in Black Ops 4. And if that happens again this year, I will never play a Call of Duty game again. And that is all that I have to say in this review of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the 2019 edition. Call of Duty number, what are we at, 19, 21, somewhere in there. There's been a lot of Call of Duties, but as always, I'm Ryden. This has been Blue Order Gaming, and I'll see you guys in the next one.